Olivia Reeves just wanted to see how her newly designed model was being displayed, but the staff at the luxury Manhattan dealership told her, "You're wasting your time here, ma'am." By the end of the day, the look on their faces when they learned they had kicked out Ferrari's secret head designer was priceless. The Elite Motors luxury car dealership on Manhattan's Fifth Avenue gleamed under the winter sun. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Bentleys displayed in the showroom attracted the city's wealthiest individuals, standing like works of art behind glass walls. The dealership sold not just cars but a lifestyle, exclusive, prestigious, and ostentatious. Olivia Reeves stood in front of the dealership on the cold New York morning, looking at the bright red Ferrari in the window. At 42, she looked completely different from the luxuriously dressed people around her, with her black jeans, gray sweater, and worn leather jacket. She had tied her brown hair in a practical ponytail, wore almost no makeup. A simple canvas bag hung from her shoulder, and she held a coffee cup in her hand. There it is, she thought, her eyes on the new Ferrari Roma model. This model had come from her pen, but she had never had the opportunity to see how it looked in a showroom before. She rarely left her design studio in Italy, but she had come to New York for a short visit and couldn't resist seeing her own creation in one of the city's prestigious galleries. When designing the Ferrari Roma, Olivia had wanted to combine the elegance of the 1960s with modern lines. The goal was to create a car that whispered luxury rather than shouting it. Like her own simple appearance, the Roma carried an elegance far from ostentation. Her philosophy was embedded in every line, every curve. True beauty is hidden in essence, not in showiness. Olivia took a deep breath and stepped into the gallery. Inside was a perfect atmosphere of luxury. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, minimalist design furniture. Everything had been carefully selected and arranged to send the message, "You don't belong here," to ordinary people. At the entrance, a red Ferrari 488 and an elegant black Lamborghini Aventador were displayed on thick carpets. Sales representatives dressed more ostentatiously than the cars themselves walked around each vehicle. Richard Bennett, the sales manager of Elite Motors, strode through the gallery. At 45, he was perfectly dressed, with sharp facial features and a professional posture that made him the most important person in the dealership. Everything from his hairstyle to his shoes was perfect. He had been selling luxury cars for exactly 15 years and had specialized in customer profiling. He was an expert at distinguishing between a wealthy customer and someone who wasn't a potential buyer. The moment he saw Olivia enter, a slight expression of discomfort appeared on his face. Olivia now approached the red Ferrari Roma displayed in the center of the gallery. She gently ran her fingers over the car's smooth surface. These lines, these curves were all products of her mind. When designing the Ferrari Roma, she had aimed to combine classic Italian elegance with modern lines. She examined the car from every angle, reviewed every detail. A small scratch on the left rear corner caught her attention. Such a flaw shouldn't be there. As a designer, such details disturbed her. Richard approached Olivia with a handsome young sales consultant named Tyler. They walked with elegant steps, both looking impeccable in Armani suits. Tyler had just started and was learning the intricacies of luxury car sales under Richard's wing. "How can we help you?" Richard asked, with a subtle coldness in his voice. He scanned Olivia from head to toe with his eyes, immediately deciding she didn't fit the right customer profile for the gallery. Olivia smiled. "I'm just looking. This Roma model is really impressive." Richard scanned Olivia's clothes again. "Yes, it's an impressive car. Prices start around $350,000. "I know," Olivia said calmly. "It combines classic design elements with a modern interpretation. I particularly like the details in the front grille and the clean lines of its side profile." Richard and Tyler exchanged meaningful glances. Most customers pretended to know, but this woman seemed to be genuinely talking about cars. Still, her outward appearance was definitely not that of a Ferrari buyer. Richard put on a fake smile. "I see you're a car enthusiast, ma'am. However, we prioritize scheduled customers when discussing this special model." Olivia laughed lightly. "Oh, I'm just looking. I actually know quite a bit about this model." "I'm sure you do," Richard said in a sarcastic tone. "Perhaps they can help you somewhere else. If you're looking for more affordable options, I recommend the Honda dealership in Lincoln Square." Several other sales representatives in the gallery and a wealthy couple shopping at the time were now looking at them. The woman was adorned with designer brands and jewelry, and the man next to her wore an expensive watch. The couple whispered to each other and giggled. Scenes like this were part of their elite motors experience. Only the right people could get in. Actually, I just wanted to see how the Roma is displayed, Olivia said in a calm voice. Seeing it in photos is different from seeing it in person. Tyler stepped forward. Unlike Richard, he had sensed from the way Olivia spoke that she might genuinely know about cars. Miss, may I know your name? Olivia. Olivia Reeves. Tyler and Richard showed no reaction, even after hearing this name. Olivia had been working under a pseudonym in Italy for years, and her true identity was known only to upper management. She had little contact with the public, and her photos were rarely published. The cars she designed were in the spotlight, not her. At a brand like Ferrari, designers usually remained in the shadows. The cars were the stars, not their creators. Ms. Reeves, Richard said in a more formal tone, we have a busy day today, and important customers will be arriving soon. Thank you for your understanding. This was a polite way of saying, please leave. Olivia understood this. For a moment, she considered revealing her true identity, but then decided against it. This happened all the time. People judged her by her appearance, and perhaps this allowed her to focus more on her designs. Her work should speak, not her ego. I understand, said Olivia. Thank you. Tyler had realized that Olivia was genuinely knowledgeable about cars and was uncomfortable with Richard's attitude toward her. Ms. Reeves, if you'd like, I can tell you some technical specifications of the car. Richard gave Tyler a stern look. Tyler, I remember you had appointments with other customers. I'll escort Miss Reeves to the door. Tyler reluctantly nodded and walked away. Richard directed Olivia toward the door. Thank you for your understanding. Perhaps you can visit again in the future, when you're in a position to purchase a Ferrari. Just then, the gallery door opened and two people entered. One was a strongly built man in his 50s, Maxwell Porter, the owner of Elite Motors. Next to him was a younger man with sharp eyes, Antonio Rossi, Ferrari's North American marketing director. Richard and Tyler immediately straightened up. Maxwell was one of the most important customers of his gallery and had established a close relationship with Ferrari. Antonio Rossi, as Ferrari's highest-level representative in the American market, commanded great respect. Maxwell, welcome, said Richard, quickly moving away from Olivia. Mr. Rossi, it's a great honor to see you here. Olivia quietly headed toward the door, but Antonio Rossi saw her and stopped in surprise. Olivia, said Antonio in a disbelieving voice. Olivia Reeves? What are you doing here? Richard, Tyler, and everyone in the gallery were now looking at them. Olivia smiled and responded in Italian. Ciao, Antonio. I'm on a short visit to New York and wanted to see how the Roma is being displayed. Antonio immediately came to her side and gave Olivia Italian-style kisses on both cheeks. I didn't know this. When did you come from Milan? Why didn't you let us know? We could have welcomed you. Maxwell Porter approached them in amazement. Antonio, do you know this lady? Antonio laughed. Know her? Maxwell, this is Olivia Reeves, Ferrari's head designer, creator of the best-selling models of the last decade. The Roma is her work. The expression on Richard's face froze. Tyler's mouth fell open. Everyone in the gallery was now looking in shock. Even other customers had stopped to watch. Head designer? Richard stammered. But, yes, said Antonio proudly. Olivia is one of our company's most valuable assets. She works quite secretly, rarely appearing in public. She's the winner of the Best Design Awards for the last 5 years. Maxwell Porter immediately stepped forward. Ms. Reeves, it's a great honor to meet you. It's a privilege for us to display your car in our gallery. Olivia smiled politely. Thank you, Mr. Porter. I wanted to see the Roma in your gallery. It's really beautifully displayed. Richard now looked completely pale. Ms. Reeves, he said in a shaky voice, I didn't know. I apologize. Olivia looked at him, with an expression difficult to read on her face. It's all right, Mr. Bennett. People often judge others by their appearance. I suppose it's part of human nature. Antonio took Olivia's arm. Come, let's talk about the Roma. Before you return to Milan, we should also exchange ideas about our new projects. Olivia nodded, but then stopped and turned to Richard. By the way, Mr. Bennett, thank you for your Honda dealership recommendation. But my first car was a Honda Civic, and I loved it. Sometimes you can find inspiration in the most unexpected places. Maxwell Porter was now looking at Richard with clear dissatisfaction on his face. Richard, can we talk in your office? Immediately. Richard nodded and followed Maxwell, his face now completely flushed. The rest of the staff looked at each other in shock. Tyler took a step toward Olivia, but then hesitated, not knowing what to say. Antonio and Olivia were now walking around the Roma, with Olivia showing design details. The placement of the engine, weight distribution, aerodynamic features. Olivia's eyes sparkled as she talked about these. This car was the product of her creative vision. Her signature was in every detail. This scratch on the rear corner, said Olivia, pointing with her finger. Did you notice this? It needs to be fixed. Antonio immediately looked at the scratch and nodded. You're right. We'll take care of it right away. Everyone in the gallery was watching them, now looking at Olivia with a light they had never seen before. Respect, curiosity, and a bit of shame. The woman they had tried to kick out moments ago had now become the most valuable person in the gallery. Loud voices were coming from Maxwell's office. Richard's career was now under serious threat. Olivia felt uncomfortable with this situation. Her intention wasn't to put anyone in a difficult position. Antonio, she said slowly, Richard seems to be getting a severe reaction. Antonio frowned. He deserved it, thinking about how he treated you. But I'm used to this, said Olivia. As a designer, I often prefer to remain in the shadows. People don't see me. They see my works. Antonio shook his head. No, Olivia. You're one of Ferrari's most valuable employees. We cannot allow you to be treated like this. Olivia thoughtfully looked at the lines of the Roma. This car was a design that perfectly combined elegance and power balance, just like life itself. Sometimes people make mistakes, Antonio. What's important is being able to learn from these mistakes. Tyler had now dared to approach them. Ms. Reeves, he said in a trembling voice, I'm Tyler Collins. I'm really a fan of your cars, especially the design of the 488 Pista. It was magnificent. Olivia smiled at him. Thank you, Tyler. The 488 Pista was one of my favorite projects, too. Can I get an autograph? Tyler asked, pulling out a small notebook from his pocket. You're an incredible designer. Olivia took the notebook and signed it. The admiration in Tyler's eyes was genuine. Perhaps in this young man was someone who could see that cars were not just status symbols, but works of art. An hour later, Olivia and Antonio were preparing to leave the gallery. Olivia had examined every detail of the Roma, seen how it was displayed, and even suggested some small adjustments. Maxwell Porter had emerged from his office and approached Olivia. Ms. Reeves, I am deeply sorry for the incident today. We absolutely do not accept such treatment at Elite Motors. Richard is no longer working with us. Olivia looked at Maxwell. May I suggest giving him a second chance, Mr. Porter? We all make mistakes. What's important is learning from these mistakes. Maxwell was surprised. Are you sure? He was quite rude to you. Not to me, said Olivia. He was rude to a simply dressed, ordinary-looking woman. Perhaps this has been a valuable lesson for him. Sometimes the most important people come in the most unassuming packages. Maxwell nodded thoughtfully. You're right. I'll reconsider this matter. As Olivia and Antonio were leaving the gallery, Richard approached them. His face was still flushed, but now there was genuine regret in his eyes. Ms. Reeves, he said, his voice low and sincere, I apologize for my behavior. The disrespect I showed to you in your position is unforgivable. Olivia looked at him. Mr. Bennett, the problem wasn't the disrespect you showed me, but that you judged me by my appearance. People in important positions can also dress simply. Ordinary-looking people can also have extraordinary talents. Richard nodded in agreement. You're right. I learned the lesson of my life today. Good, said Olivia. Then you've learned something from this experience. Everyone deserves a second chance. As Antonio and Olivia left the gallery, Richard watched them walk away. He had made the biggest mistake of his career today, But perhaps he had also learned his most valuable lesson. In the cold New York air outside, Antonio smiled. The expression on people's faces was fantastic. But I apologize for not defending you, Olivia. I should have come earlier. Olivia laughed. Don't worry, Antonio. I can fight my own battles. And perhaps sometimes hiding my identity allows me to focus better on my designs. Still, said Antonio in a serious tone, as Ferrari's head designer, the disrespect shown to you is unacceptable. Perhaps they didn't judge the head designer, Olivia said thoughtfully. They just judged a simply dressed woman. And perhaps this reflects a wider problem in our society. Antonio nodded. You're right. People still judge too much by appearance. And as designers, said Olivia, we should know how deceptive appearances can be. True beauty is always beneath the surface, isn't it? This statement summarized Olivia's entire design philosophy. The Ferrari Roma wasn't flashy on the surface, but it was extraordinary in its details and engineering. Just like her, someone who appeared simple but carried extraordinary creativity inside. 2 weeks later, Olivia had returned to her design studio in Milan. The magnificent view of the Italian Alps was visible through the large glass windows. The studio was a place that reflected Ferrari's spirit, elegance in simplicity, perfection in details. A package had been left on Olivia's desk. Inside was a miniature model of a Honda Civic and a note. Inspiration always comes from the most unexpected places. Thank you for teaching me the lesson of my life. Respectfully, Richard Bennett. Olivia smiled and placed the miniature car on her desk. Perhaps some people could really change, and perhaps the best designs emerge from bringing together different perspectives. Just like her Ferrari Roma, a design that struck a perfect balance between classic and modern, luxury and accessibility. She sat at her desk and focused on her new project. She looked at the drawings in front of her. This was a design concept for Ferrari's future electric sports car model, a design that combined sustainability and luxury, preserving traditional Ferrari lines, but looking to the future. Olivia picked up her pen and began to draw. This was her world. Lines, curves, proportions, and balances. Here, that simply dressed woman was shaping the next generation of cars for the world's most prestigious car brand. Her outward appearance didn't matter at all. Only her creativity and vision were important. The same week, changes were also happening at Elite Motors in New York. Richard Bennett had been given a second chance by Maxwell Porter, but conditionally. Richard had now started a training program explaining the importance of treating all customers equally and not judging by appearance. And on the wall of the gallery hung an elegant sign that read, "Look beyond appearances." Tyler Collins had also changed his career path after this incident. He had left his position at Elite Motors and applied for an internship program at Ferrari's North American office. Antonio Rossi had seen his potential and given him a chance. Tyler was now attending sales training sessions, explaining that luxury cars are not just status symbols, but works of art and engineering marvels. Maxwell Porter had completely revised Elite Motors' customer service policy. Everyone is a potential customer, he now said, and everyone deserves respect. A year later, at Ferrari's annual press conference at the headquarters in Milan, Olivia Reeves finally took the stage. She was wearing a simple but elegant black dress, her hair still gathered in a practical bun. Journalists from around the world finally had the chance to see Ferrari's mysterious head designer. "Ms. Reeves," asked a journalist, "while working for a luxury and ostentatious brand like Ferrari, why do you prefer such a simple style yourself?" Olivia smiled. "Because true luxury isn't in showiness, but in quality and details. Our cars speak for themselves. I don't need to speak. As a designer, I create the soul of a car, not its outward appearance. And perhaps that's why my own outward appearance isn't so important." After the meeting, Olivia met with Antonio backstage. "You did a great job," said Antonio. "But you know that gallery in New York will never kick you out again." Olivia laughed. "Maybe being a little famous isn't a bad thing, but I'm still a simply dressed, ordinary woman, and this shapes my perspective on the design world." At Elite Motors, Richard was now looking at customers with a different eye. Anyone who walked through the door could potentially be an Olivia Reeves, someone hiding an extraordinary talent beneath a simple, outward appearance. One day, a simply dressed, elderly man entered the gallery. Richard immediately went to him and welcomed him warmly. Welcome, sir. How can I help you? The man smiled. I was just looking at the cars. Ferraris have always been my favorite. Richard invited him into the gallery, showed him the most beautiful models, explained the technical specifications. As the man was finally leaving, Richard gave him his business card. Come anytime. You're always welcome. The man took the business card and smiled. Thank you. This approach of yours is very valuable. By the way, I'm Henry Williams, a retired engineer, and tomorrow my son Chase will be coming here. He wants to buy a Ferrari. Richard bowed slightly. Mr. Williams, I guarantee we'll provide your son with the best service. The next day, Chase Williams came to the gallery. He was one of Wall Street's most successful investment bankers and ordered exactly 3 Ferraris. Richard realized that this sale was actually the old man coming to test him, and he had passed the test. That evening, sitting in his office, Richard thought about his encounter with Olivia Reeves. It had been the most embarrassing moment of his life, but also the most valuable lesson he had learned. He read the framed quote on his desk, "Look beyond appearances." This was no longer just a slogan, but a life philosophy. A few months later, a major event was held at Ferrari's Milan Center. The new electric supercar model, Ferrari Elettrica, was to be unveiled. This was Ferrari's first fully electric car in its history and had created great excitement in the automotive world. First, Ferrari's CEO took the stage and gave a short speech. Then he invited Olivia Reeves to the stage. Olivia came on stage with her usual simple style, an elegant but unassuming black dress, minimal jewelry. The new model standing behind the curtain on the stage was slowly revealed. Ferrari Elettrica was a magnificent car combining classic Ferrari lines with the vision of an electric future. With its red body, dynamic lines, and futuristic details, it had mesmerized everyone in the hall. Olivia's eyes sparkled as she explained the design process. This car reflected her environmental sensitivity and innovative vision. When designing Ferrari Elettrica, said Olivia, I thought about the importance of looking to the future while respecting our past. Sometimes the best innovations come from embracing a vision of the future while preserving traditional values. And perhaps this applies to all areas of life, preserving the essence without getting stuck on outward appearances. A great applause rose from the hall. In the front row sat Maxwell Porter and Richard Bennett, the owner of Elite Motors. They had come to Milan as Ferrari's special guests. As Richard listened to Olivia's speech, he thought about his own journey. After that embarrassing day, his perspective on life had completely changed. After the event, at the reception, Richard approached Olivia. Ms. Reeves, a magnificent car, a true work of art. Olivia smiled. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Your compliment is valuable to me. I want to ask you something, said Richard. That day you forgave me and gave me a second chance. Why? Olivia thought. Because we all make mistakes, Mr. Bennett. What's important is being able to learn from these mistakes. And sometimes the most valuable lessons come in the most difficult moments. Richard nodded. You're right. After that day, not just my job, but my entire life changed. I now look at people differently, not just at the outer shell, but at the potential inside. That's a designer's perspective, said Olivia. We always try to see what's beneath the surface. Every design has a soul, just like every person does. Richard and Olivia raised their glasses. To Ferrari Elettrica, said Richard. And to looking beyond appearances, added Olivia. This story spread far beyond that luxury gallery in Manhattan. Olivia Reeves had now become not just Ferrari's head designer, but also a symbol of a movement against judging by appearance. In her interviews with fashion magazines, she emphasized that character and talent, not outward appearance, are what's important. Elite Motors had completely changed its customer service approach. They now worked with a philosophy of equal respect for everyone, and this approach was increasing their sales. Richard Bennett had become the company's training director and had begun consulting for other luxury retailers. Olivia continued to work in her design studio in Milan. That small Honda Civic model still stood on her desk, a memory of her first car, her first love, and always a reminder of the importance of looking beyond appearances. Ferrari Roma continued to break sales records worldwide. People were now buying not just a car, but a story, a philosophy, a story that told the importance of looking beyond outward appearances. Life, just like car design, is hidden in the details. And sometimes the most valuable people are hidden behind the simplest appearances. What's important is keeping our eyes and minds open, always looking beyond the surface. How did this story affect you? Have you ever been misunderstood because of your appearance? Or perhaps you've judged someone by their appearance and then realized you were wrong? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video. We'll be here every week with new inspiring stories. Remember, true value is always beneath the surface. Where in the world are you watching from today? Tell us in the comments, and perhaps you have a similar story you'd like to share. In life, sometimes the most unexpected people can have the most extraordinary talents. And perhaps today, by looking beyond someone's outward appearance, you can change their world.